Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Kim here. Today is our Techniques Tuesday and we are making window dangles. Now I'm not sure if I show it at the beginning of this video before you see this part or if it will be at the end. So if you get to the end of the video, you may have to stay tuned and check it out because I'm going to take a small video of my windows upstairs for you to see, and I'm going to try and put it at the front of this video for sure. But just in case I didn't, make sure you stay after this video ends to see the finished dangles that Thelma made 90% of them. I think in the 3 windows, I've only made about 10 dangles, but that's okay because I do have to do my patio window and there are other windows throughout the house that I want to add these to, especially the guest bedroom. So in making window dangles, I use what I find. You know, I don't go out and buy special beads. I don't go out and invest huge amounts of money. I look at what I can, trash to treasure. There are millions of different things that we can find to use for this, and it will be an ongoing process that I will show you from time to time. But for the most part, it's mostly junk jewelry that I use, and a wire and some chains, and I use chains from necklaces. I use chain pieces that I've come across in my travels. It's not a huge expense, and well, I shouldn't say that because sometimes we find charms and we will pay a couple dollars for them, even though we find them in the wild, only because they're beautiful. But just to give you an example, this I picked up at a garage sale. It's just a little silver, I guess it's supposed to be a dove or a bird, I don't know. And I'm going to use this as the dangle at the end of one of the first ones that I make. I also have some acrylic glass blobs. They're not glass, but they are multifaceted, and they're not as nice as crystal, but they're pretty shiny, and they do the trick, and they will catch the light a little bit. I'm sure they're catching the light now as I play with them. I think Thelma bought a chandelier made with these last year, and I don't think she paid very much for it, and she left some for me to play with and took some of them home, but they're just big glass blobs. And I have a bag, and you can find these many times at the thrift shops, of just some glass and plastic acrylic blobs that you can use for jewelry or for making your dangles. Like there's different, kind of a diamond shaped one here. I don't know what you would call that. It's not really a diamond, but they're just blobby things that you can use to dangle. And my friend Lori gave me a bag of them as well. So these are great to use for the end or the finishing little charm that you put on the bottom of your dangle. And yes, I have over the years collected some real glass crystals, and these are the ones that I want to use for my living room window, only because I've been saving them for that purpose. And, I've been collecting for a while now, and I have lots of different designs. So these are the ones that I'm going to use for my living room window, which means that I'm going to have to rewire these because they just, well, maybe I can get away with them. We'll see. They just have little hooks on them. But I also have found different styles. Here's another one of those blobbies, but this is a real glass one. And they're fun to work with. And there's a heart-shaped one that I have here. And I've just been collecting and gathering as I go along. I've got some teardrop ones. I think there's some sort of a diamond-shaped. So yeah, you want to look for crystal chandeliers. Maybe you don't get, a whole chandelier. Maybe you find a few pieces here or there. And then jewelry. Lots of jewelry. I kind of favor these necklaces that have multi-connections of links in between the beads, only because it makes them easy to take apart and use. I'm just going to try to separate this here because I just grabbed a handful of things that I had. Thelma was making them all in shades of blue for me because my living room is mainly in blue colors. But these colors here that I'm going to be working with will go in my spare bedroom, which is multicolored. So like here's another necklace. I'm just taking this. Yeah. with lots of chain in between, and it's very simple to play with. And like there are some beads on here that are glass crystals and multifacets, so they will really sparkle nicely. But this is not the color I want in my living room patio window. But they will go in my spare bedroom. And then, although that one is pretty close, it's got like grays and blues in it, but I'm going to put those ones in my spare bedroom. I have this necklace. Yeah, it's pink, but it's got lots of shiny stuff on it and chain links in between, so I can separate this into little bits. There's lots of faceted, again, beads here that are quite sparkly, so they will catch the light very nicely. So that's a fun one. This is short, so I'll have to do a little bit more work with it. And then I have a necklace like this one that's got shells on it and some blobby beads in between, and then very sparkly chain. So all of these kinds of things, you can pick these up at yard sales, flea markets. They're not expensive to find anymore. So that's the main thing that I work with. And then I work with some little jump rings, which is just the little metal rings that are split, and you put them on hook them on your things to make connections. You can also use connector beads if you have some. It's whatever you have on hand. So don't go out and buy expensive stuff, and just, expand your horizons when you are looking for things at flea markets and thrift shops and yard sales. So other than that, I am using a yardstick. In our case, it's a meter stick, which is 39 inches compared to US 36 inches. And I kind of stayed with a 36-inch length for my smaller windows. For the patio window, I think I'm going to go to 39 inches, like right to the end, plus the charm. And something else I forgot to say that you need is some type of a ring at the end. I just happen to have a whole bag of these key rings, and you can pick these up very inexpensively. Any kind of metal circles, just something just to give it the final finish for hanging. And then you need some type of a hook to hang it from. I have some metal Christmas hooks. They're just kind of an S-shaped hook. You can easily make them out of wire. You can use shower hooks, whatever you have available. Again, there are no rules for this. It's whatever you have, use and use it up, and don't go out and spend a fortune to get to that point. A lot of times with chain, you can find necklaces that have multi-strands of chain. You can find jewelry that has lots of extra chain in it, where you can reconnect and open things up and connect a little bit further to make it go the full distance and length that you want. You don't have to make them 36 inches. You can make short 12-inch ones to just accessorize on the window. Maybe instead of using a ring and hanging it from a rod, which is what I've done, I've hung them all on a rod. You can also use a suction cup on the glass and just have them dangle in shorter lengths on the windows, just to catch the sunlight. Because in the morning, well, there's certain times of the day, first thing in the morning when the sun is coming up, my living room just sparkles with all of this glass. So I can't wait to get the patio window done too. And then later on in the day, around 3-4 o'clock, when the sun is more on the other side of the house, it sparkles again. So it's just so fun to see, things sparkling and prisms on the wall and stuff. So it's kind of fun. So other than that, you do need some tools. I always bring the basic jewelry tools. You need a pair of wire cutters, definitely. You need a pair of round nose pliers in case you want to make some wire rings. And I use 2 different pairs of flat nose pliers. I mean, ideally, if they were both the same size, it would probably be easier to work with, but I just tend to use what I have. I also have a really large pair, but I don't think I need those today. So that you can open and close jump rings as you need to, and maybe do a little extra holding with a spare pair, because sometimes you need to hold from both ends. Something else I found on another chandelier were these long glass blobby beads. Like they're kind of nasty. They're acrylic, a little bit scratched up, but you know what? In the window, they look just as nice, and it just gives it that finishing touch at the end of your dangle. So the wire I'm using today is, I'm still working off my big roll of copper. You know, does it match perfectly with what I want to do? No, but you're really not going to see it inside the bead clusters that we make. And honestly, it's not about the wire. You know, you could use gold or silver. I would prefer silver, but I have this big roll of copper that I would like to see slowly get used up. I've had this thing for so many years. Thelma finally got it down to where it has one end. When I bought the roll, I think I paid either $5 or $7. It was almost twice the size of this. And it had so many ends because I think the previous owner just got frustrated when they couldn't find the end. And so this thing was like shaggy from all the ends. And over the years, I've slowly not narrowed it down. I think I had it down to about 5. And since Thelma's been kicking at it, we finally got it down to one end. Because eventually those ones that are cut will come out from wherever they are, and then they go down in time. So now I've got one, and I hopefully will keep it that way, not get frustrated and lose it. So I'm using some wire. I brought some other clear beads to the table, different kinds. Here's some real sparkly ones, because I mainly want to work with the clear. And here's some, I call these cheap, mean, and nasties, and I'm going to just put them in the tray here for you to see, because Caroline was showing all the beads that she got recently. These are the beads that you get in bulk bags and in bulk situations. They're about an 8mm. Some of them are a 6mm. I've got them all mixed. I've got 2 different colors in here too, like kind of a champagne and a clear. But they are great to use as what I call filler beads, so that you're not using your most expensive beads to make things. Or at least not using all of them. You know, if you mix them up with some cheap and nasties, it helps to get the job done, and it just makes those really expensive ones shine all the more. So it always includes some of those in your projects. Then I also brought to the table, this is kind of a leftover bunch of silvers and pearls, because I thought I would use a few pearls in here. Now these are Christmas garlands. Yes. If you look around for them at Christmas time, when they go on sale, you can pick these up for pennies, and you can even get them very inexpensively at the thrift shops and at your dollar stores. But they are, I guess this was just a short garland for whatever reason. I think they came like 6 in a package or something. And I use it to harvest these silver beads to use in my projects, as well as the pearls. And again, they're cheap and nasty, but they are the perfect thing to use as filler to fill in with the more expensive beads. So we'll use some of those today for sure. I'll just open one. But this is the kind of stuff I look for, especially at Christmas time. You would be surprised at how many beautiful strands of crystals and red beads and gold beads that you will find, silver, even white pearls that you will find on sale after Christmas, or with a coupon if you go to those craft places, that you can pick up for next to nothing. I think after Christmas, Michael's even has things up for like 80-90% off. So keep your eye out for those. That's the time to scoop that stuff and put it aside. If you are making dangles and you start making lots of them, honestly, make some to sell at a craft sale. You can sell them by the foot with a little suction cup. You can pick up a package of suction cups at your local dollar store for, $1 for maybe a dozen or more in the package. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes when you're doing a craft sale and you have things like that on the table and you have them not too expensive, that can make them break a show very easily. And sometimes that's what saves your show, depending on how busy the traffic is to have kind of a lost leader or a small item that you can really produce fast and sell as a window decoration. If you make them in about a 12-inch length, you can also make them in smaller lengths, and use them as a purse decoration. A lot of people like them for their purses. Some people like them for their keys. So there are multiple uses, and a great way to use up odds and ends of beads as well and make them in different colors. So you can explore other ways to keep creating these things and making more and having fun doing it and using up your bead stash. So that's just a little bit. Now I have this big jug, and this only has, well, it has mostly blue blobby beads, because sometimes I will use just a blobby bead. I'm going out here, you know, something like this. I think Thelma actually strung these. So sometimes you just want to have a couple of blobby beads in there to enhance the dangle a little bit more. So I just have them all in here because Thelma was working in this color. But just to give you an idea, this was one of those, you know, drinking. I use these a lot. Whereas, okay, with the spout here, you know, you get these at the, you know, when you have iced tea or lemonade or something, people have these. Now this one is plastic, and usually you can pick these up at the thrift shop for a couple of dollars, or even at a garage sale for a couple of dollars. Even though they, you know, if you go to buy them brand new, they're $20, $25, depending on where you go. But a lot of times they end up at the thrift shop because people, after they use them, they take all the parts off and they wash them, and then they put the parts back on and they don't tighten them enough. And so they automatically assume that it leaks, that it doesn't work anymore, or they've lost the washer. That's another thing, is that sometimes they lose that inside washer, and then of course it will leak. And so they end up at the thrift shop because of that little tiny issue. And sometimes, quite often, it's just a matter of tightening it. And I keep all the hardware from each one attached. And if I do need it for, wow, where did that fall from? If I do need it to repair another one, I've got the hardware either way. But I use them for storing beads. I use them to put flowers in. I use them for any type of decorating in my studio to inspire me and to enhance when I want to see something in, you know, a colorful combination. Now, I have a lot of beads. I have too many beads, which is why I'm talking about craft sales. I think I'm going to do one in the fall. So yes, I do need multiple containers to host all of this collection I have. However, it will look equally nice if you have a container like that mixed with beads. And one of our biggest misconceptions is that we think we have to have a separate container. You know, it's that OCD kicks in, that we have to keep all our colors separate to see what we have. But half the fun of playing with your beads is touching them and feeling them and looking at the different colors. So to mix them all into one container works just as well. And I say that, but I know sometimes I have the urge to separate them all by color in baggies and then put them all back. It's an ongoing thing. But yes, you can have a large container like this to host your beads, and another container to host flowers, and etc. And have this artistic inspiration in front of you or around you all the time to enhance your creativity. So don't rule out looking for those larger plastic containers, because there's no shortage of them. Trust me on that one. I have to stop myself from not picking up multiples of them at any given time. But enough said about that. I'm going to get started now. I'm going to use these silver beads. Now I have a tray here that I just put all these beads into. Can you believe it? I didn't bring a pair of scissors to the table. I am not sitting at my normal table. I am sitting in the other part of the basement, only because I needed quite a bit of room to spread everything out for you to be able to see it all. So I'm just taking this garland. And yes, I do go back and sort some of my beads afterwards to the various colors. I don't leave them all messed like that, but I will be working on this for a few days. Thelma had said something which really makes a lot of sense, is that if you do one or two every day, it doesn't take long to get your window done, which is very, very true. Although I couldn't leave it in this part of the basement because I have cats and a dog, and it would just be a disaster in no time at all, and a husband. But if I was doing this somewhere where I could keep them out, what a great way to just sit down, work on a couple, maybe watching TV, and then get up and walk away from it. So it is a great way to get things done if you've got to do multiples. But in my case, I will put this somewhat away in my studio, piled up, and then I will bring it out to work on it again another day. So yeah, so when I'm doing these now, I'm going to do one first with a necklace, because sometimes you really don't have to do much to this. Now this one doesn't even have an opening. I don't think these ones do. There's no lobster claw on this one. And I'm just going to check this one to see. Yeah, this one does. If they have a lobster claw, yeah, you can use that as the top ring if you want to, like something like this, instead of using the lobster claw. But I like to save these for other projects, and there will be other projects coming up in the future in the bead and dangle, in my charms and stuff that we'll be working with, that I will use these with you. So I'm just going to take one of these chain links here, and I'm just going to cut it. And take this right off of and I'm not cutting it right at the end of the lobster claw. I'm just leaving a few chains on here just so that I can see that I have, some on here that I might want to hook right onto that instead of having to open everything up. But I'm just going to keep that aside for other projects. This is kind of a catch-all box right now until I finish. There were some leftover little bits and pieces that I will put together to make other dangles with, like this. I could use this black one today too. So this is just kind of a catch-all for right now. But this necklace that I took apart, when I open it up, it's already too long. And it is perfectly spaced the way it is. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to 36 inches the way it is. And in this case, I don't even have to cut it. I'm just going to open up the one bead, the one ring here. And I know this is not easy to see, but I'm just opening it up, taking this off, and closing it again. So this is just a little extra piece that I may use with this other one here. But I have a 36-inch long chain that is nicely spaced. So the only thing I want to do is I want to put a jump or ring on one end. That's how easy this is. So I need a jump ring. And I'm just going to use 2 pairs of pliers and open up the jump ring. I just got to find the end here. Okay, here we go. And I've said you don't pull it apart, you twist it back and forth this way to open them up. So I have it open there. Now, I brought an extra pair of magnifier glasses. Usually I work with a magnifier, and next week I am getting my new glasses, I hope. I'm going tomorrow to pick them up or to put my order in. So taking the loop at the end of this, I hope you can see that okay. I'm just going to feed this jump ring onto there, and at the same time I'm going to take one of these metal rings and feed this on, and then close the jump ring. So taking the 2 pairs of pliers, ooh, I got one stuck on there. Okay, taking the 2 pairs of pliers, I'm just going to now bend it back the same way that I opened it up. And I know you can't hear this, but there is a bit of a clicking noise when you actually do close it. You can feel it as well as see it. Like I can see it today because I got these magnifiers. I'm glad you can't see me because I have 2 pairs of glasses on. So I have my ring at the one end, and now I want to add some type of a dangle, something a little bit fancy at the other end. So I have all those different things that I showed you. I've got like this little glass, it's like a little X, kind of a cross look to it. So all I'm going to do is take another jump ring, and find the end of it, and use my pliers. 2 pairs of pliers, open it up, and I'm going to feed the end of the chain on this from this end, as well as feed my little charm and close it up. And ta-da! I have my first dangle to go up in the window. And it was that easy. Now this necklace probably cost me $1. So yeah, it's not inexpensive when you think of how many you want on your window. You know, most of my windows are probably going to have about 50 to 75 by the time I'm done. But I'm doing this slow. I'm not going out and spending you know, $75 per window all at once, you know, into the hundreds of dollars. And there's going to be times where I go to a garage sale and I can find 3 necklaces like this, all for $1. And there's going to be times where I find a bag of charms for next to nothing. So the whole idea is, you know, don't knock yourself out getting all the stuff you need. Do it slowly. Choose the beads you want. Find some, you know, unusual charms. Take your time with it and make it kind of a hobby / you know, creative inspiration as you're working with it. But it's that quick to make one from a necklace, one of these beaded necklaces. So I've got that one done already. But then if you want to get into, I'm going to just take these glasses off because I can't see with them on in the distance here. But when you want to start to make them from scratch, that's when it gets a little bit more where you need to choose your beads and choose what you want to put together. So you can see that most of these are done in like little clusters with a loop on either end that connects one to the next, to the next, to the next, right? Same with this pink necklace here. It's connected with, you know, this is one section and it's got 2 loops, like one on either end of it. And then this is another section here. So that's what we're pretty much making, but we're putting chains in between to reduce the cost and the time to make your dangles, and to make them a little bit more, you know, sparse, and to change it up a little bit. They don't all have to look the same. And you can certainly make chunky ones like this. You can make the whole thing and have several necklaces together. Or you could cut this up in different pieces and add something like the black in between, or, you know, I'm just giving you an example, or another color in between, and just spread out, you know, pink and black, that, or pink and blue, all the way down to make it, you know, stretch your beads further, or pink with pearls and silver, however it works for you. So we can do it that way, or we can make the individual little sections. Now, I really don't have an exact measurement. I just take about maybe 3 or 4 inches of wire, not a whole lot. This might be a little bit longer than that. It might be about 5 inches actually. Let's just have a quick measure. 5 to, yeah, it's 5 inches. So I take my wire, and then using my pliers, I just roll it a couple of times around to make sort of a spirally loop. And that will be the end of my bead. And I don't worry about opening it up because it's got a loop in there, and I'm going to connect a jump ring onto it eventually. So then I have this long eye pin, and you can use eye pins, although they are more expensive. To do it this way is certainly more economical. And I think I see Thelma's cut a bunch of wires, so I'm going to use those too. So I just take my beads, and in this case, I'm really not going to give it much thought. Sorry that you have to listen to this, and I'm sorry about the shadow. There's not really much I can do about it here. I'm going to string on, it's pretty much like making charms. I'm just going to string on a silver bead. If I can find the hole. Oh, here's where I need my glasses again. Yeah, I can't wait. Hopefully I'll have them by next week. And then I'm going to put on a clear, cheap, nasty one. And then I'm going to put a bigger silver one. And then maybe a pearl here. And I don't necessarily, everybody's different. You can make them all the same if you want, exactly. You can change them up. Maybe I'll use a silver one here. And another one like this. And let's see, maybe we'll just use another little bead here. Now I've cut this wire way too long. Oh, that's kind of boring. I think I'll put another clear one. I'll put a small clear one. And then I'll put the silver bead. Okay, so there is a little stringer of beads. And you may have to straighten your wire a little bit once you get going. So it's already got a loop on the end. The beads aren't going anywhere. There is a little hole in there in between. And I'm just going to hold my beads tight at the one end, just like doing charms and dangles. And I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to bend the wire back. Now, I'm going to cut this about, I would say it's about 5/8. It's better than no, not 5/8, sorry. About 3/8. It's better than 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just holding the wire. And so I've cut it short to make my next loop. But now I see I've pushed this bead up. Here we go. So this is just to show you how long it is. It's a little bit better than 1/4 of an inch. It's more like 3/8, not quite 1/2 an inch, sort of in between there. And then taking my round nose pliers, and you've seen me do this on other videos, I'm just squeezing it between probably about, I don't know, the same, about 1/2 an inch up the edge of the pliers. And I'm just holding it and I'm just rolling it back to that bead. So I've left it open so you can see it. I hope you can see where it's open like that. And I'm just going to take my other pliers and squeeze it gently, not too tight, but just squeeze it gently so you close it. And it's going to curl up on you because the wire was curled already. Now, I could have done a whole wire bead wrap thing because we are linking these together with other chains. But it's just as easy to do it this way. You know, the wire is quite thick. The chain the jump ring that's going onto it to attach it to the chain is quite thick. For the most part, they're not going to come off as long as you've properly closed it. Now, you can feed these onto cord or thread as an alternative to wire. You don't have to put wire. If you put them on thread, there's certainly going to be more movement to them, and you would want to knot a jump ring on to the end first, then use your thread, and then when you get to the other end where you've got enough beads on here, you would tie on another jump ring and knot it a couple of times. So you can do that method, and it's more flexible. But if you have cats and they want to play with these in the window, or children, because, you know, children are attracted to these too, it's much easier to break the threads than it is the wire. And my cats are in my windows all the time, and they bat these things around. And yeah, on occasion I will find one on the floor that they've played with. but it's very seldom comes apart. At best, maybe one piece will come apart, like it'll break open. And that's 99% my fault, because it might be that I hadn't completely closed that bead, like, or closed that piece of wire. So I highly recommend using the wire. It's much easier, and also threads will stretch. Even fishing line cord will stretch, and you think you've got it as tight can be, and then when you hang it up, you're always going to see those loose little, or those little spaces at the top where the wire has settled or stretched, and the beads have fallen into place, and then you have that space. When you do it with a wire, you don't have that space, and you know that these are going to stay on here secure, and sort of be more pet friendly and child friendly as well, and in some cases adult friendly. But yeah, that is the most that is why I use the wire the most, for the most part, and it's easier and faster, and I can connect these quite easily from one to the next. So I'm going to leave this for now and do another one. And this one, because I had a piece of wire, I'm just going to make a short one. They don't all have to be the same. And I'm just bringing my wire around a couple of times, just so that the one end is closed nicely. And because I'm not going to get much on this one, I'm just going to I just want to use the wire up to the end. That one, and maybe a little silver one. And a pearl. That's a big pearl. There's a little pearl. I have to be mindful that I'm going to need some on the other end here. So another small, here's one. Small end here. And then very conveniently, one small silver bead. But they can be made of anything, of any combination, and they don't all have to be the same length. So in this case, it was a perfect fit. And just taking my pliers, I'm just going to bend that back. Now I know all the beads are reasonably secure. And then taking my round nose pliers, I'm just going to roll it back into the bead as much as I can, and then take the other pliers and close it completely. And you can see that. That's not too bad to see, to make sure you've got it closed. And then the only other thing I do is make sure that my wire is straight, because this wire does come on a roll and on a curve. And plus, when you're handling it, sometimes I'm pressing harder. I don't realize that I'm pressing harder, and I've kind of put a little curl into the beads. But that's pretty straight. I think you can see that it's pretty straight. And so now I have two different pieces that I can add on to my dangle. It takes a while to do this part of it. It takes a little while. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I will do a few and connect a charm at the bottom. So I'm going to take another piece of wire that Thelma has cut some here. Okay, yeah, got a nice long piece here. And just taking my pliers, I'm going to roll that one up a couple of times just to have a nice closed loop. So it's really only one end that's open a little, well, it shouldn't be open. I mean, you should be able to close it, but it's just the second end is just a little, just enough to close it. And in this case, I've got some other acrylics here. Where did I put them? I had some big blobby beads. These are those, another cheap, mean, and nasty that I call them is those little tri beads. They have like sort of 3 corners. But when you put them together in a bunch, they look really cute. So let's use some of those. I've got those. And somewhere here I have a bigger one, but I don't know where to put it. Oh, I've got all kinds down here. All right, now we're going to have some fun. So actually, Caroline, you had a whole bunch. I call these gumdrop beads. I don't know if that is the name of them or not, but these kind of beads are fun to decorate with because they've got an iridescent finish on them, and they also sparkle really nice. I've got some other little acrylic beads, some glass bead, or yeah, that one's glass, and some blobby ice beads and stuff. So all this kind of stuff works. So where is my wire? Let's start with a couple of silver beads. So you can see how quickly this can get out of hand. And I don't know where those tri beads went. They should be down here on the bottom. Oh well. We will add one of these. Like I said, I call these gumdrop beads, but I need the other glasses on, because I can't see the holes in these unless I have my magnifier. Like I have a magnifying light, but I don't have it with me this time. And let's see, we've got another bigger silver one here. I'm just using silver and gold, or silver and clear beads in these. I'll put one of these on here. And another small silver one. And this one looks interesting. So you can see, again, no real rhyme or reason to this. You can make it if that makes you feel more comfortable. Some people like everything to be the same or symmetrical. I like to have things always different, because this way you are not, you don't have to stay with the same thing all the time. If that makes sense at all. Now, what does this one do? That's too big. I don't like it. I think I'm just going to have one more of these gumballs. I do seem to go to a more tapered look on either end, sort of like a, I make it end with the small beads on either side, but that's and then I'm going to end with this little one. And you can make them longer. Like you can certainly go the whole length of this wire if you wanted to. I do make them on occasion in these long lengths, but I find that these are much more easy to manage and to keep straight when you're doing them. Otherwise, they tend to get more of a curve to it. So taking my pliers, I'm just going to bend it down. And then using the cutters, I'm going to cut it back to about 3/8 of an inch. And, you may want to make your loops bigger. It all depends on what's comfortable for you. And just holding it nice and tight. This is where it also gets a little bit more complicated, because you want to hold all the beads in place so they don't slip off of there. For the most part, the bend in the wire is enough to hold it, but you still need to secure it a little bit. And then taking my pliers, I'm just going to grab it and roll into that bead as much as I can. And then in this case, because I got my glasses on, I can see I can do it with one shot. But just for fun, I'm going to tighten that up just a little bit. Okay, so I have another strand here now. So I have 3 different strands, and I can start to build on this. And again, I don't choose exact lengths of of a chain, because, and now this is a more intense chain. I'm going to go with this one, I think. I don't choose any particular length. I just want to have a little bit in between. So maybe 3 inches here, and then, another 3 inches here, but the next one might be 5 inches. It depends on the look that you want to achieve. So I'm just going to cut this open by cutting one of these links. You could pry them open, but in all honesty, it's almost impossible to reclose them. So I just as soon cut them and lose one chain loop and then put a jump ring on either end, because it's so much easier to not worry about how close that you get the link to close, and sometimes it's really hard to get those links to close again, because these are made for the purpose of making necklaces, and they're not meant to be like a jump ring where they're a rounded ring to put in between your pieces. So they don't match up quite as nicely. At least I find they don't. So it's easier to just cut the chain in an approximate length that you want. If you want them to be exact, then you're going to have to sit there and count links, which can make you crazy. I do approximately and hope for the best. And, you know, in a case of something like this, I don't need them to be exact. But in the case of if I was making, say, a pair of dangles like this and then putting a blobby bead on the end to make a pair of earrings where I wanted the chain the exact length, then I would sit there and count the links and hope that I got them right. And if not, I would cut off one or two depending on how many I needed for the jewelry. But in this case, I really don't worry about how this is going to work. So I just take another jump ring. And opening it up. Remember, not pulling it open, opening it, rocking it back and forth from one side to the other, from front to back. And then I feed on the chain and feed on either end one of the beaded pieces, and then taking the, sorry, I need the glasses again. Taking my pliers, I just close the jump ring. So now my beads are connected to this chain. There is still a loop at the top. And now I want to connect this big bead section here to the end of the chain. So I do the same thing. I open up the ring. And usually when I do this, I just use my fingernail to open it. But for the camera and for your sake, now I'm just feeding the chain and that beaded piece and closing the ring. So it's that easy. That one's a little bit straight. There we go. And so you can see now that it's getting some length to it. And I'm going to add another piece of chain to this end using another jump ring. Feed the chain, either one, it doesn't matter which one you feed first, one or the other. And then the piece. Not quite right. There we go. Closed. So you can see it's getting longer already. And then now I'm going to add that little one there as well. So now I'm adding it to this end of the chain. Nope, that's the broken one. That's the one I cut off. And I just continue to do this. Now, usually what I like to do is I like to make a whole bunch of these beaded pieces first, ahead of time. And then I add my chain, and it doesn't have to be 3 inches. It can be 1 inch, you know, depending on how many beads you want to have on there. And closing that up. So I am far from done. This is only about a foot. Let's just, for the sake of the camera, let's just see where we're at here. 18 to 32. Well, let's go 24. It is 13 inches long so far. So I have a ways to go on here, but I know that I'm going to, at the end, I'm going to put, where did it go in the pile here? Oh, I'll just take another one out. Oh, here we go. I'm going to put a jump ring on one end to hang it from. And at the other end, and you can tell there's no rhyme or reason as to which end is up unless you decide, I'm going to put one of those fancy crystals. Let's see. I've got this one here. Now this one just has a little wire on here that I'm going to take off. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it on, and I'm going to use that wire. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up a little bit better. I hope you can see that. Normally I would take them off, but there's nothing wrong with this wire. So instead of wasting it, I'm just going to make a jump ring or make a loop again and close it so that it's tight. Now, because this has got such a long wire on here, can you see how I've made that loop? I hope you can see it. I'm now going to take the pliers and open that up a little bit more. Like I'm going to reopen it, but not change the shape. I'm just opening it up a little bit more. And that's so I can now feed this end onto here. And then taking my pliers, I'm going to close it as best as I can. And that looks pretty good. Just going to tighten it a little bit more. Oop. Oop, too much. There we go. And so that is now the end of my dangle. And so that's technically going to be the past the 36 or 39 inch mark, because this I'm making it about a 40-inch long dangle. It'll be, you know, it'll vary depending on the crystal that I add onto it. But this is where my dangle will end now. And I will keep going until I get to the other end of the yardstick or meter stick by adding different levels of these beads and different lengths. They don't have to be that long. In fact, if this were too long, like in here, like to me, it's kind of, it's not bad, but I could certainly add something in between there. Like maybe you change your mind, or maybe you want to add a different color. Let's just take a piece of this wire that is left over here. So I'm going to make one more just to show you some possibilities. And taking my pliers, my round nose pliers, I'm just going to twist it around a few times to know that it's nice and secure. And starting with a small silver bead. And crystal. Usually I would be working with this flatter. Trays are always nice because then you can dig around in the beads if you want. I'm going to use one of these gumdrops. These, I think, came off of a garland too, if I'm not mistaken. And another. There we go. Another large silver one or larger silver one. And another crystal. And another small one. So supposing I wanted to just add one more little, you know, maybe I just feel that this is too much chain in here. So I can just, again, bend this back. Now, all these little pieces of wire that I have left over, I do use them. And you've seen me make little tiny spirals to use on the backs of pieces of jewelry to make them hangable. And I'm just going to take the round nose and close that up as best as I can. Sometimes I can get it right back into the hole, which is kind of cool when that happens. And then just straighten out my wire to make sure that it looks nice and straight. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it somewhere where I think I want it to be, about kind of the halfway point, if I decide that I've made this too long. Take off the broken parts and do the same thing. I'm going to open up a jump ring and feed one end onto this end of the chain and one onto this end of the chain. So you do need a good supply of jump rings. That is one of the main things, is to buy yourself a big package. They do last a long time. And I'm going to feed the chain on here. And then the bead. And close that up. And then do the same thing on the other end of it. So you're just using the beads and the chain to, you know, lengthen or add more interest as you go along. You know, maybe I wanted to have a strand of purple beads in here somewhere. Not that I would, but, you know, I might. And then closing that up. Oop. Yeah, good. And now I've added another length in between. So now this one looks a little bit long compared to it, but you know, again, I don't worry too much. I might make the next one shorter and have a longer length of bead, whatever it is I decide. But I have a long ways to go yet before this one is finished. I'm really, if I don't count the charm, I'm really 17 inches now without the charm. So in order to do the yardstick, which is 39, and then add the charm, it will be just over 40 inches. If I'm using this big one, this big horker, of course, I'm going to only, I'm going to adjust for the size of this so that it's only an extra inch to make it the 40. So this becomes part of the charm itself. So if I was doing this with this at the end of it, I would still add a jump ring and connect it the same way. You'll see some of them in my window with this bead on it, either at the end of this video or at the beginning. You can always go back, check that out, and see that I've used some of these beads, because I will show you that. So this is how I do it. You saw how I did the plain beads, and I can redo it if you like, but this one isn't done. This one I did, yeah. Okay, so let's take one of these. I've got too much stuff on my desk here. But now I want to sit and play with these. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to find a spot. Now, because these ones, they don't have chain in between. They don't have a jump ring in between. It's the ending connection for this is connected to that one, which is how I would normally do earrings and jewelry. I wouldn't have a jump ring in between. But because of this, you know, for the dangles, I do put a jump ring in between so that we don't have to open the chain. But in this case, it's 2 loops that were looped one into the other. So all I have to do is just carefully open one of these up, because there is no connector. There is no necklace opening. So I'm just going to carefully open this one up. Take this off. It's got the end already there, so I don't have to do anything. And I'm going to close this one again, because this one is also a bead. So it's just like I put all these together, but I didn't. This is a necklace. And these, I don't know where these necklaces came from, but in our area, you can find them by, well, lots. Like they come in the black. They come in this with the pearls. And I've seen them just white beads, like pearl beads. And so they must have been some kind of promotional necklace thing from somebody or something. I don't know what. But they're long necklaces and they're easy to take apart. So I'm just going to count out my 39 inches here, which takes me to that bead. So now I'm going to open that one up. And take all of this off and then close this one up again. So I can use this exactly like this. Just put my loop on the end, put a dangle on the bottom, and it is done. It is ready to go on my window. Or I could use it in smaller sections, like by taking this apart in maybe sections like this and putting some chain in between. So I could open this up. And this is how you use the chain to stretch your beads. Maybe you want to have several chains like this made, so that you can have, you know, it match a little bit better. Then you would use chain in between. So I'm going to just cut myself a piece of chain here. Again, I'm not measuring. There we go. Okay, so I've cut myself a piece of chain. And in this case, I don't need the jump ring because I can just feed it right onto that wire or that earring that I opened up. Or not earring, bead end that I opened up. So I'm just going to add the chain onto there. And then using my pliers, but I could have added a jump ring. But this is already open from taking it apart, so I might as well just feed the chain right onto here and close this up. So you can do it that way as well and save yourself a jump ring, and then extend these to make the length go longer and get more mileage out of one necklace. Does that make sense? So I could take, you know, these next 3 here. So I would open this one up. Very carefully, take that off, add this onto the chain that's already there. You can see that. And close it up. So now I've got more length. It doesn't look like this one, but it's very complementary to this one. And I can just keep adding chain. So I've got several things on the go here. I can just keep adding chain onto this one, and you know, it may not make it to the end to be a full length one, but I can also steal from this one, add some chain in between, move things around a little bit, and end up with 2 of these. But I'm not going to do it. I think I've given you the basic ideas, and you can see how this can be stretched out to make more. And it actually kind of looks nicer with the chain instead of these just continuous beads. But this is an option if you don't have the chain, and this is the option if you only need one in this color. But you can stretch it and make it work for you any which way. The chain doesn't have to be the same. The chain can be different chains. It's as long as you're doing them all kind of random, it's not going to be noticeable. If you're doing them all with this chain and you have 20 of them with this chain, and then you introduce one with a black chain or a gold chain, or even a dark silver chain, like a gunmetal color, yes, it's going to be more noticeable. But if you're doing all the same, where it's intermixed, all of them are slightly different, you're never going to notice that you're using different types of chain. So I hope this is a good start for you. Get started playing around. If you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. I'm going to, again, stop the video. You're either going to see it at the beginning or at the end. So whatever way, just either hang around or go back and review the first one. But this is how I make my dangles. This is pretty much how Thelma makes them. She uses a little bit more fancy beads and a little bit more blingy type things. But I just work with what I have, and well, I think she worked pretty much with what I had too. Like this little bird, for example, could go on the end of this one, and it will be really cute. In fact, it could go on the end, but it's got another loop down here, so I could still add a little drop, like just to give you an example, I could still add one of these little cross things on it. So you may see this in the future on one of my windows as I go along. But I hope you got enough out of this to get started. If you need more, if you want to see another video like this, please do let me know, and leave your comments below. And please let me know how you feel about this, if you got enough out of it, and if you think you've got jewelry that you can use to make this kind of stuff with. I would love to hear what you're doing with this. Next Tuesday, I will go back to the charms and dangles, but we will intermix that with this stuff as we go along, because there are going to be times where I have things that I say, oh, I'm going to use this for a dangle. I'm going to use this for a charm. So they will get intermixed. And so you will see more and more of it as we go along. It'll all depend on what we have to work with. There are going to be things that we find in our jewelry stash as we're taking things apart. And you will see that when I'm working with stuff. As I take it apart, I can explain how I would reuse this or how I would use it in something like this. Another example is these must have come off. Yeah, these came off of either a belt or a necklace that Thelma took apart. I saw there's a few. And there's a few of these plastic ones in here too. These can also be the same thing as a metal ring to hook onto your curtain rod with. So don't rule out that these can be used for that. This can also be a charm at the end. It doesn't have to be an ornament or a trinket. It can be something like this that is just hooked onto here with a jump ring and a piece of chain. If it's too thick to go around a piece like that, then you can always take a piece of chain and loop that around and catch the two of them with a jump ring. Does that make sense? And hook that from the end of here. So there are ways to use other objects, which we will introduce as we go along, to add into your jewelry. Now there's also this big chunky monkey here. This can be a blob added onto the end of your piece. We just have to undo this, and it can be added onto the end. And I'm just going to quickly do one of those just for you to see how easy this stuff really gets. And I like these big blobby beads for that reason. Oh, I can't see. I was out for a walk today. I've got a huge mosquito bite or a bug bite on my arm. It's kind of painful and noticeable to me. Trying to get my pliers in here. There we go. Opened up. Got the chain off of it. Now I can just reclose this and further dangle something from here. So I just took this off of this necklace because there's another 3 chunky pieces that could be added in one section onto a charm or onto a dangle. Sorry, I'm going to do that a lot. but this could be added onto here as well. Now this one has a double chain loop because it's done 2 links and then 2 links and 2 links. I don't know if you can see that on there or not. So I would either just catch a jump ring to catch both of those to put on the end of this, or I could just take one off and only use the one, because you really don't need 2 on here. But I, you know, because they're on here and it's just as easy, I'm going to take a jump ring. Keep adding things on. This video could go and go if I don't stop talking. But I'm going to add those on. So you see how I've just added that onto a jump ring, right? It's loose. And I can now take this and put it on the chain that I've made. And this can become the dangle at the bottom of this one. So it's that easy. And, you know, a lot of necklaces come with these big blobby beads in them. Okay, I could go on and on. But this is why I tell you, don't rule out things that you find in your jewelry. If you get something unusual and you say, what do I do with this? Send me a picture. I'll help you figure it out one way or another. And as we go along, I will be showing you more and more of this stuff as to how you can repurpose it for making dangles, for making jewelry, for making charms for your junk journals, and beautiful tassels for your junk journals. We are going to keep going with this until you say, I've had enough, show me something else. But that's on our Techniques Tuesday for a while. And I have a few other things planned for Techniques Tuesday later on this year. But for now, we're just going to keep doing beads until we are tired of them. Or one of us is tired of them. Either you or me. But yeah, that's going to be Tuesdays. I'm still doing the Thrifty Canucks on Thursdays. I'm doing the follow-up Friday just to keep you in the loop of what I'm doing for the week. And then Saturday is Arm's Length Art. While I won't always actually participate with you on that at that time frame on Saturday, I will be there and working on stuff, and I will show you the video one way or another. The rest of the week, no matter what, I will be working on stuff for my projects. I will always turn on the camera and share with you what I'm doing so that you get sort of a mini tutorial, but it'll be one of those things where I stop and start the camera. I show you this is how it looks, this is what I'm going to do, and then I show you it when it's done. If there are things that you want to focus on when I'm doing it, then you can always leave me comments about it. But that's pretty much how my whole summer is going to go. If you watched my last video, you also know that my up in my hill, I have a lot of blackberries to pick, so I will be out picking blackberries sometime late this summer, so that will consume some of my time. But for most of the summer, if we're not out enjoying the sunshine and the fresh air, I will be turning on the camera no matter what. You will see a video almost every day, but it'll be more personal, and it'll be more centered around the work that I need to get done. But the Techniques Tuesday is a given. That's automatic. We will always do something on Tuesdays to share with you. That's it. That's all. I can go on and on and on. I hope you got something out of this. Leave me a comment below. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a very fun and creative day, and see you all soon. Bye now.